Welcome to New Mexico Restaurants Now, where we get you the inside scoop on the food scene across New Mexico. This episode is brought to you by the New Mexico Restaurant Association Chef Table sponsors. These businesses provide the most generous level of support and help our restaurants stay protected, informed, and successful. So thank you to Benny Keith Foods, the Food Industry Self-Insurance Fund, Heartland Payment Systems, Shamrock Foods, Cisco New Mexico, and U.S. Foods. We would not be here without you. I'm Carol White, CEO of the New Mexico Restaurant Association, and today our guest is Wayne Moore. Wayne is the Director of Operations of D.H. Lescombes Winery and Bistros throughout New Mexico. We'll talk about the restaurants and winery that started the legacy of Lescombes in New Mexico. But first, Wayne, tell me a little bit about how you got into the restaurant industry.
Hey Carol, how are you? Thanks for having me on. I know you ran out of every other guest you could have, and
That's not true.
I'm happy to be here. How did I get started? I'll tell you what. I was working at a grocery store right out of high school, and my girlfriend was a server at a restaurant and making about 5 times what I was making, and I thought I should probably look into that. So I went and got a job bussing tables, and I was tickled pink doing that, and just kind of slowly but surely started moving, learning different aspects of the restaurant.
So, talk about Lescombes Wineries, because you have really expanded in the last couple of years, and it's not just a winery anymore.
No, the Lescombes family is just an amazing family. Their passion lies in the wine, and you're very familiar with that family. They took the winery there that was St. Clair in Deming in the early '80s, and just wanted to have a great winery. And I think it was 15 years into it, they opened their first bistro as a way to kind of let the public know how to pair their wines with food and stuff like that. So I think the bistros was definitely just an avenue to do that. So that's how it started.
Well, and you said I do have a lot of history with that group, and we were my ex-husband and I were the owners of the first restaurant that they had there, and it was a brewery and winery, and it was a lot of fun to work with them. They are a fabulous family, and they brought wine back to New Mexico. New Mexico is one of the first states to ever have wine since the Spaniards came up through Mexico into New Mexico and had it for altar wine, I believe is the story. And then, it really didn't get a renaissance again until the Lescombes came into New Mexico. And where did they come from?
Well, they came from Algeria. They lived in Burgundy, France, and Algeria. They are right now 6th generation French winemakers. So it is amazing if you look at their body of work with Hervé and what he did in France, and the reasons why he came over here. And then obviously with his sons, Emmanuel and Florent. Emmanuel is a viticulturist, runs our vineyard there in Lordsburg, and then Florent oversees, the president of the company now. So.
Very good. And so they've been making wines for eons, and they have some fabulous New Mexico wines that, they've won all kinds of awards. And like you say, I mean, the restaurant just really, it makes you feel great about their wines. You can taste, do a triple tasting or a quadruple tasting of wine. And it just makes you feel really good about the wines. As you come into the restaurant, you've got a wine shop with all of the different wines. As a matter of fact, last time Wally and I were there, my husband and I were there, we bought some of the Kiva and the Port.
Oh, good deal.
Because you guys have some of the most wonderful bottling in the world, and labels and things like that. I love the Katrinas. all of those beautiful.
We do all that in-house. In fact, the gentleman, Daniel Gonzalez, heads our marketing team. He's been with us for, I believe, 15 years now. And he's so creative, and he's very passionate about the brand. And so he's won awards just for what he's put on and how he's designed those labels. So it's I'm surrounded by very, very good people. Makes it pretty easy.
Yeah, very talented people. And I know you're not necessarily the wine guy, although you know your way around wine well, I'm sure.
You've
But
seen me
you,
before, Carol.
what's that?
You've seen me drink wine. I figure it out.
You figure it out, yeah. But you are the food guy. And I've just got to say, I think Lescombes has done a fabulous job in the quality, but also in just keeping things the same. I mean, I don't care where I go, I'm going to get the same meal, and it's fabulous. It really is. And you've got everything from pot roast, which is one of the best pot roasts I have ever had. But that's kind of what I want to say, the comfort food on the menu. And then you have other things as well. So talk to me about the food and the menu at Lescombes.
I'd be happy to. I tell people the mark of my job for me is, would I go eat there, dine there, drink that wine if I didn't work there? And for me, that's an absolute yes. Our menu, I like to call it maybe casual plus, if you will, not because the prices anymore, but just what our offerings are. We have everything from, say, a Chilean sea bass, which is, man, that's a great piece of fish right there. It's so buttery, and it pairs well with our wine. Everything we do was a bit of a learning curve for me. Every restaurant that I've been a part of, you develop and work on your food, and everything else is separate. The spirits, the wine. We develop our food with our wine in mind first. So how it's going to pair, or if possible, going to incorporate our wine in the recipe itself. Something as simple as, one of our dressings is a mimosa dressing, one of our most popular dressings, and our guests love that. But it starts with our wine. The pot roast you were saying, we make that with our Merlot. So little tip there, that works out pretty well. So they don't let me prepare it, because apparently it's not drink 2 glasses and then pour some in. It's just supposed to go in the actual recipe. So need to clarify.
I'd have a hard time with that myself.
Right.
Yeah, I totally understand.
I'm just trying to understand what we're doing here. But we have hamburgers, but everything we do, Carol, our absolute focus is not trying to pull smoke and mirrors with our guests. We source the best quality we can get. And, for instance, our beef is Akushi beef. We put salt and pepper on it for our burgers. There's no doctoring it up to make it. It is a great piece of meat to start with, and I think that makes for a great burger. But everything we can source and get that is of great quality, we look at that. In whether we're carrying it's a cheddar cheese or it's a produce, whatever it is, that's something that we feel like we owe it to our wine, that it needs to measure up with that.
Right. So, and I think you source as much locally as you can too. And that's also, you're sourcing the wine locally. You're sourcing most of the grapes locally. And so nice that you would source the food locally as well.
We just, 2 years ago, we brought on Mesilla Valley pecans from the Salopec farm down there. And I got to tell you, for those that don't know, you know that in Cruces, right? You spent a lot of time down there. Compare those pecans to anywhere else. They have such a rich, buttery flavor that we just couldn't turn that down when we started making it with some of our recipes and stuff. We just did R&D for the folks out there that's research and development that aren't in this crazy business, but we brought in some pistachios, which I think we've been missing the mark on that, but we made a pistachio pesto pasta, and it was phenomenal. Once again, those pistachios were phenomenal, and it just having great ingredients, I think, can really help you make a great product to put out.
So, and just so people are aware, New Mexico grows, I think, more pecans than anywhere else in the world. And Australia is second, but and New Mexico is first. And then we're starting into the pistachios. We may be first or second in that as well.
I
And
leave
so,
you to the facts, Carol. You know your stuff, so I just go along with it.
okay, just pretend like I know this, right?
Well, Alamogordo is my hometown, and so I know we have a couple phenomenal. We have McGinn's down there, his pistachio farm, and also Heart of the Desert, and they both do a wonderful job.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course the pecans and onions and green chili and all of those things. And I know you have chili on your menu because almost everybody does.
Our number one seller has been the same, Carol. We call it a New Mexico pasta, but it's a pasta Alfredo with hatch green chili, sun-dried tomatoes, and chicken breast, and it is a great dish. But it's been our best-selling dish for 10 plus years now.
Wonderful. Yes, yes, and I know that dish as well. So let's talk about where the restaurants are and exactly where the locations are. So let's say somebody's listening to this podcast as they're coming into the state. Let's start with Las Cruces let's start with Deming, because that would be the first place you would go if you were coming in from El Paso, Texas.
Arizona.
Or California or Arizona.
Yeah, you're coming through. Yeah, you would get. Yeah, it's there at the winery, right there in Deming. Unfortunately, I don't even have the address on me, but it's at our winery. The tasting room is. So I should have had the address ready. Probably.
You can Google it
when you get in Deming and go, where is it? And they'll point to it. But we have signs all over the place. Cruces is at 1720 Avenida de Mesilla. And if you haven't been to that one, it's pretty cool. The layout, we have a small vineyard there and a lot of grass. So it's a pretty cool environment. I'll tell you about Alamogordo. That's opening up in May, but that's at 261 Panorama Boulevard, right there on the main drag of White Sands and Panorama. It's in the old Golden Corral location there in Alamogordo. Then Albuquerque is 901 Rio Grande Boulevard. And we've been here 14 years at this location. So it's a fun location as well. Kind of got an old, the building itself has kind of got an old, what would you call it? Farm. What is the building type here?
It's an adobe with a pitched roof, pitched tin roof adobe. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. Yeah.
I really like. I think all of our locations are unique. They're definitely not cookie cutter. And then we have Hervé Wine Bar up on San Francisco Street, right next to the plaza, and that place is just really neat. It's a 2-story open second level with a glass roof, so it is so relaxing to go in there and enjoy a bruschetta with a nice glass of wine.
It is. That was so fun because you told me about Hervé and I didn't get in there for, I don't know, 6 months till 6 months later. And it's just, it's right off of Burro Alley. Is that correct? Because it feels like it just goes right in from Burro Alley and you just feel like it's this neat little tucked away place. And then of course, in Las Cruces, you've got great views out on your patio. You got gorgeous patios in Albuquerque. I'm looking forward to going to Alamogordo and seeing what you guys have done there. You do a fabulous job when you put something together. I mean, I know you say there's a lot of talent there, and it's just very obvious that there is a lot of talent, that somebody has a kind of a view to what they want the Lescombes to look like, and they totally make it happen.
Thank you. It starts literally with the family. I can't state that enough. Florent is the visionary. You talk about how do you turn a Golden Corral into our own concept. Well, if you see that building, Florent and the guys just finished planting a vineyard there. So we have a small vineyard right outside of the building, in between that and the main drag. So I think it really kind of gets you set for what you're about to, see when you come in. Because that's really the heart of everything we do is our vineyard.
Nice. So really, if you're coming into New Mexico from any direction, if you're on I-40, the Albuquerque location is just off of I-40. If you're, going into Santa Fe, you're just off of I-25. You're off of I-10 in southern New Mexico and I-25 in southern New Mexico too. So you guys got it really figured out. And the other thing is, I mean, if somebody is traveling through, you got to go to White Sands, right? I mean, that's just the most picturesque place you'll ever go,
Pretty neat.
It's pretty neat. It is white sand as far as you can see. And you can take fabulous photographs and other things, but that's Alamogordo is just right outside of White Sand. So for somebody traveling through, that's where you're going to go. So talk a little bit, tell me about the wines, because you guys have some varietals that I am only familiar with mostly because of Lescombes, but they're red varietals that I absolutely adore, and you can't get them anywhere else. The Mauverde and what else? There's another one.
And Petit Verdot.
Petit Verdot, that's the one.
Let me try to make this where they can break it down. But the number one selling wine in New Mexico, period, is our Members Red. So we're pretty tickled about that. Now it's a red, but it's a sweeter wine. I think that fits a palate, if you will. I think it's a great wine. It's a little sweeter than I like. So you can kind of start there and go back. So we have St. Clair, which is in all the grocery stores. So our St. Clair products you'll still see there. Our Lescombes is only carried at our bistros and our wine bar. That's the only place you'll get Lescombes. And so we have the Members, we have all the different wines, but we also carry our limited release. And I think that's where kind of the soul of our entire offering of wine is. So, we have Renaissance, Mourvedre, Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot, Cab Franc. You can't go wrong with any of those. So those are the ones that are aged in our French oak barrels, and they take a while before they ever get out to the public. So time is you can't rush it, right, when it comes to those wines. But they're phenomenal, and all our 95% of all of our grapes we use are grown in our own vineyard. So
I did not know that. That didn't used to be the case back in the day, but now they've got their own.
And worked, and so occasionally we'll have to bring something in if the crop didn't, we didn't get the yield we needed. But those things are always in play. So
well, and I do
some great reds. We have.
I was just going to say that, nobody thinks of New Mexico as a wine growing region, but if you think about it, we have the cool nights, the warm days, the growing season. And so it really is perfect for wine, and more and more wineries are coming here because there's land for sale, right?
Let me tell you, Hervé could have went anywhere. And when he left France and he came here, he had checked it, but he fell in love with the soil, the terroir, the whole thing that went along with it. And like you just said, the cool nights and just what you get. Well, that's everything to a grape, and what your finished product is. But Hervé has actually planted thousands of acres in New Mexico. I don't think a lot of people realize that. When he first came over, he started planting in Tier C, all the way up north. He was planting different vineyards and working with it, and just worked out where he was able to get the St. Clair winery there in Deming. And but he absolutely loves the soil and just the overall environment, the weather conditions and everything. It really works well.
Well, and I know that about him, and I was practically there when he moved here, so
yeah,
we grew up together.
He's a good guy.
He is.
I'll tell you what he does now, Carol, is he's out of operations, but he bakes fresh bread every day and brings it over to the Cruces Bistro to hand out to our guests. He's Yeah, it's awesome. But he bakes bread at home, and he's got a commercial oven now, and he loves baking bread and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
How fun. Well, good for him. He's staying busy.
I eat it. That's what I do.
That's right. So talk to me. You said you got lots of interesting other things going on. Anything coming up? I know we're just coming out of the pandemic, and we actually have some capacity now in restaurants. So it's pretty exciting.
We couldn't wait for this, as everybody's heard the stories of what restaurants have been going through, along with everybody else dealing with hardships, and being shut down for close to a year was a big challenge for us. And how do you stay alive was our first plan, but we really tried to promote our to-go offerings and change that menu up. We did a grocery store for the first month and a half of it, but right now our guests are so amazing and so loyal. When it was 25% in dead winter, we were at capacity.
25% outdoor dining.
Right.
No indoor dining, and people did go. Well, you guys, again, you have some of the most beautiful patios in the world.
Yeah, my heart just went out to all our friends out there that just didn't have that option. So it's not like we did anything amazing. We just happened to have some patios and put a bunch of heaters out there, but our guests were there and they supported us and they kept coming. And so we owe that so much to our guests. And but yeah, we've been cranking. We're getting ready to come up with a new menu. We have it. We'll launch that next month. We're opening our newest bistro in Alamogordo in May. So that is we started this project 4 years ago. So you can kind of imagine my anticipation is pretty high for that. But we are cranking and just trying to figure out how we can get better daily. And
well, and you guys did something that I thought was pretty daring, and that was in the beginning of the pandemic. You guys basically shut down at least your Albuquerque location to do renovations, and you did some gorgeous renovations.
Right.
So I thought that was
shut down though, Carol. We did roll the dice a little bit, but our thought was we're going to open back up. We're not sure when, but when do you get an opportunity to do this? You couldn't dine inside, so we just did everything to go, right? And we couldn't have any guests in anyways. So that's how that happened. Just jumped on it and remodeled the whole bar. We still, we've never had anybody sit at our bar yet, so that's going to be interesting.
Very cool. Well, I've been in a couple of times since then, and it is just absolutely breathtaking, really. And so I encourage anybody to go in and see their nearest Lescombes Winery and Bistro, because they have one near them, right? Most people in New Mexico do anyway. So talk to me. What else do we need to talk about before we get off of this podcast?
Well, I think I shared with you, I'm launching a new show called More New Mexico. And this is just an extension of our brand. It'll be done through ProView Networks, and then we're putting on all our social media. But, one of our core values is community. And we really want to, it's important to us that we don't just say those things. And we wanted to use our platform that we have and highlight the amazing local businesses. So that is, a lot of that's going to be restaurants. And I'll be sitting down and talking to restaurant owners or managers, but that will be a lot of it will be restaurants. But I'm also doing the local auto repair shop and the karate dojo that has been a year without being able to see students, and kind of the effect that has on mental health. Mental health is something that I'm very passionate about, and so is our company. And so my goal is with the show that we'll shoot the first episode next week. I'm going to be drinking wine, some of the limited release that I was telling you about. I'll be drinking that on set, and some amazing beer. Local breweries and stuff have donated beer and stuff, so we can our guests can have beer or wine. And I just want to help tell their story. and it won't cost them a penny. And Steve Davis, y'all know him over at ProView. He's providing the platform and the people that are going to set all this up. I am nervous because I have no clue what I'm doing, but if I can get someone's story out and it will resonate and you feel like, man, I can sympathize. That guy literally opened up his auto shop. I'm doing Old Town Tire and Automotive. They've serviced our vehicles for 15 years now. And Alex worked at a dealership. He rolled the dice and bought this place and started with nothing and is running a great business. And those businesses, in my opinion, and for our company, are critical. And corporate is not the enemy here. That's definitely not what I'm putting out, but they have resources. They can change. They have the marketing dollars. They have different teams that can switch angles and switch up there to go and negotiate better pricing for these small guys. We can't do that. And so what you're doing right now and what you have done, I know that's not part of what we're talking about, Carol, but I think people need to know what an amazing job you're doing. These restaurants, half of them that did make it wouldn't be here without your leadership. And I really respect that. And I'm just happy to be associated with you and that you can call and yell at me every once in a while.
Well, and so just for everybody's information, Wayne has been the chairman of my board, and he spent a lot of time on my board of directors, and I really appreciate your leadership through all of that. And I know, nobody had time to do anything, and it was a strange time. Nobody was necessarily working, but they didn't have time. They were preparing for the next possible step that was going to happen. And what I've heard a lot lately too is that restaurants are having a hard time keeping up with all of the grants and loans and forgiveness and not forgiveness. And, somebody told me the other day, that's a full-time job. And I can absolutely understand that. You need somebody on your team that's just paying attention to all of the things that were happening for the last year. And now we're coming out of it. There's a little bit more relief coming our way, which I'm happy about, because I actually think that relief is going to be very, it's going to be perfect for restaurants in New Mexico, because we have been shut down so much and they have lost a lot of money. And I think they'll be able to get that money back in that next round of relief. So fingers crossed, we all do just a little bit better.
Out, and
yes.
There's not one ounce of me that's worried about, because I've gotten questions about, Wayne, why would you highlight other restaurants, and are you going to interview wineries? Are you going to, and my answer is absolutely. Our number one competitor is us, and us is doing our job. That's our number one competitor. And so, yeah, I want to highlight the wineries. I want to tell the story of what they're doing and how hard it is and what it takes before you ever see that bottle of wine. You've heard the stories, I'm sure, from the Lescombes. It's not, you ain't growing grapes and walking out back and stomping them. There's a lot of science involved, right? There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that. And for everybody that's running a local business, my heart lies with that. That is what makes New Mexico amazing. It's the people in New Mexico and the small businesses. That's what people count on. Whether you need a job or you're counting on just going to get some damn good tacos, you know what I'm saying? And so I think us all coming together as a community and between NMRA and anything we can do to highlight others, I just, that's what my focus is going to be.
So kind of to wrap up, talk to me about how people can get a hold of you, how they can look up Lescombes. It's pretty easy, but yeah.
No, thank you. Lescombes Winery, you can go to our website, and from there you can kind of see everything from our menus, our wines. You can order wine online, stuff like that. For the show, it's called More New Mexico, which is my last name, Moore. More New Mexico. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, all under that. and be looking for it on ProView Networks, and then we'll showcase it on our Facebook pages for Lescombes and also whoever I'm interviewing. So if they have a Facebook account and I'm doing the show with them, then we'll put that on there for their guests to see as well. So we have some amazing leaders in our company. We have some general managers that people would be so fortunate if they could work with them. We have just wonderful people, and they're very passionate about what they do. So please come by and see us if you want to have a great meal and some great wine, and just forget about all the issues outside those four walls. So
I agree. I mean, it is one of my go-to places. Not that I don't try to go to all the restaurants in the state. I do, but when I'm here in Albuquerque, I think of Lescombes because I'm going to get a great glass of wine, and I know the food, everything we have had on the menu has been absolutely outstanding. So
awesome.
Thank you for doing such a great job there. And I want to thank our generous sponsors, U.S. Foods, Cisco, New Mexico, Shamrock Foods, Heartland Payment Systems, the Food Industry Self-Insurance Fund, and Benny Keith Foods for their annual sponsorship of the New Mexico Restaurant Association and its programs. Visit nmrestaurants.org to learn more about our Chef Table sponsors. And thanks for tuning in to New Mexico Restaurants Now. You can watch this and other episodes on the New Mexico Restaurants Now YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the audio podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Thanks for being here, Wayne.
Hey, thanks, Carol. Have a good one.